Picture this. You're driving through the wealthiest neighborhood in the city, marble fountains gleaming under streetlights, when you spot something that stops your heart cold. A 7-year-old girl sitting alone on weathered concrete steps, carefully arranging 3 empty plates in front of her, setting them just so, as if preparing for the most important dinner party of her life. What you're about to hear will shatter everything you think you know about generosity, family, and the invisible struggles happening right under our noses. But first, if stories that restore your faith in humanity are what you're here for, smash that subscribe button. Trust me, you'll want to catch every story we share. Marcus Chin had built his fortune the hard way. Immigrant parents, scholarship to MIT, 15-hour workdays that turned a tech startup into a billion-dollar empire. Now, at 42, he measured success in quarterly reports and acquisition deals, until that Tuesday evening when everything shifted. He'd been returning from another merger meeting, his Tesla purring through Beacon Hill's pristine streets, when movement caught his peripheral vision. Not the usual, no pristine jogging strollers or designer dog walkers. Something different. A child. Alone. At 8 p.m., Marcus pulled over, engine idling. Through his tinted window, he watched her, maybe 7 years old, dark skin glowing under the porch light, hair pulled into 2 careful braids secured with rubber bands instead of proper hair ties. She wore a faded pink dress that had seen better summers, but her posture? Regal. Determined. 3 plastic cups arranged with the precision of a 5-star restaurant. 3 sets of bent silverware polished until they gleamed. The only thing missing? Food. Marcus stepped out, his Italian leather shoes clicking against cracked pavement. The contrast struck him, his $3,000 suit against her makeshift dining room on concrete steps. "Hey there," he called softly. "I'm Marcus. What's your name?" She looked up, no fear, just curiosity mixed with something that resembled pride. "Zara," she said, smoothing her dress. "I'm having a dinner party. Would you like to join us? We have plenty of room." Marcus glanced at the empty plates, then back at Zara's earnest face. "Who are you expecting?" "My mama and daddy." She gestured to the empty chairs, one an overturned crate, another a paint bucket covered with a towel. "Daddy works 3 jobs, so he's always hungry when he comes home. Mama works at the hospital cleaning. She says her back hurts, but food makes everything better." Something twisted in Marcus's chest. Where are they now? Working. They'll be home soon, though. Zara picked up an empty fork, bringing it to her lips with theatrical flair. The chicken is delicious tonight. Chef Zara outdid herself. Marcus watched, transfixed, as this child performed an elaborate pantomime of eating, describing flavors with the vocabulary of someone who'd watched too many cooking shows during hungry afternoons. "What about you?" he asked carefully. "When did you eat last?" Zara's fork paused midair. For just a moment, the adult mask slipped, revealing the tired child underneath. "Yesterday? Maybe the day before. But that's okay. When Mama and Daddy come home, we'll all eat together. That's what families do." The words hit Marcus like a physical blow. Here was a child who turned starvation into a tea party, poverty into pretend play, survival into theater. "Zara," he said gently, "what if I told you I knew a place that makes the best chicken you've ever tasted? Real chicken?" Her eyes widened. "Really real? Not pretend real?" "Really real." What happened next would haunt Marcus for years, in the best possible way. He didn't just buy Zara dinner. He bought enough food to feed a small army, then sat on those concrete steps and watched her face transform with each bite. But more than that, he listened. Really listened. Zara told him about her mama, Angela, who'd worked double shifts at Mass General for 3 years to support them after her daddy got laid off from the construction job. About her daddy, Jerome, who now juggled Uber driving, grocery bagging, and night security because pride wouldn't let him apply for assistance. "They think I don't know we're poor," Zara whispered, sauce on her chin. "But I know. I pretend the food is there because it makes the hungry feeling smaller. And when they come home so tired, I want them to think their little girl is okay." Marcus felt something crack open in his chest, something that had been calcified by years of board meetings and profit margins. When Angela and Jerome finally arrived home at 11 p.m., they found their daughter asleep on the couch, belly full, and a stranger sitting quietly at their kitchen table. Not their makeshift concrete table, their actual kitchen table, now laden with groceries. The conversation that followed changed everything. Marcus learned that Jerome had actually applied to Chin Technologies 18 months ago, one of 3,000 applications for an entry-level position. His resume had been filtered out by an algorithm before any human eyes saw it. Angela had been working toward her nursing degree for 6 years, taking one class per semester, all she could afford. There were 2 paychecks from homelessness, living in a rental that the landlord had forgotten existed, keeping their heads down and their hopes smaller. 6 months later, Marcus stood in the same spot where he'd first seen Zara, but everything had changed. Jerome now ran the Community Outreach Division at Chin Technologies, a position Marcus had created specifically for him. His job? Finding overlooked talent in overlooked places. Angela had graduated nursing school with her tuition fully sponsored. She now worked at Boston Children's Hospital, specializing in pediatric care for underserved communities. And Zara? She still set the table every night. But now the plates were full. Marcus had learned something that no business school had taught him. True wealth isn't measured by what you accumulate, but by what you multiply. Not what you earn, but what you share. Not what you achieve, but what you make possible for others. The Chin Foundation now operates in 12 cities with one mission: finding the Zaras of the world, children whose dreams are too big for their circumstances, families whose dignity shines brighter than their struggle. Here's what I want you to remember. Every day, there are empty plates being set with hope instead of food. Children who turn poverty into play because that's the only way they know how to survive. Parents who work themselves to exhaustion because love looks like sacrifice. But here's the thing about empty plates. They're not really empty. They're full of possibility, full of dreams, full of the kind of hope that can change the world if someone just notices. Marcus Chen saw Zara's empty plates and recognized abundance. He saw a child's pretend feast and understood it was the realest thing he'd ever witnessed. The question isn't whether there are Zaras in your world. The question is, are you paying attention? What empty plate will you notice today? If this story moved you, hit that like button, subscribe for more stories that matter, and share this with someone who needs to remember that kindness is always possible. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is simply see.